insane.
What is wrong with Afghanistan? What is wrong with Afghanistan? What do we want? Ceasefire. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Ceasefire. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Ceasefire. When do we want it?
You do a disservice to Pennsylvania.
Listen, this incident occurred yesterday in the lead up to Veterans Day. You see, I'm wearing my Marine Corps pin as I am a veteran. The junior senator from Pennsylvania has faced backlash for his denial of ceasefire. Newsweek has reached out to the senator's office via email for comment about the incident with no response. Here's what I want to say. I feel extremely bothered by Fetterman for so many reasons. That the disgusting behavior walking out with that flag is doing one thing. It had one purpose, and that was to antagonize this group of veterans who showed up to protest, right? You did that leading up to Veterans Day. These are people who actually put their life on the line and signed up to be veterans, to be soldiers. And you didn't do that. You're not even willing to hear their point. You're simply taking the side of a government that everybody has a problem with. Netanyahu's government is not clean. It was not clean even before this war started, and definitely not clean after they're bombing hospital ambulances and also refugee camps. So it's absolutely disgusting to see this. And then to carry on that, it don't even match up with the words he had on his website. He said this about veterans on his website: the men and women of our armed forces are some of the best of our country and has to offer. After everything our service members do for us, the very last thing we can do is hold up our end of the bargain. When they return home, for too long, politicians in both parties have shortchanged our veterans through bad policy decisions, burdensome bureaucratic hurdles around the country, and mission creep around the world. It's disgraceful. Honoring our veteran means cutting through the noise and getting things done for people who put their lives on the line for this country. We must do more to support them. How do you, John Fetterman, online, with this being your website statement, match up with your behavior right now as you laugh as one veteran is being handcuffed for speaking against a war which he knows all too well? This is disgusting behavior by politicians who will say and do whatever just to get elected and then show up in Washington and become parts of the monkeying system that we have to deal with. Sister.
Yeah, such a disgrace. I mean, he is showing a supreme cowardice in this moment. Very disappointed in him and his behavior, the way that he came at these veterans, the way that him and some members on his staff have comported themselves when people have approached him, even in the most civil of ways, to voice their disagreement about what is happening in the Middle East and to call for a ceasefire, by which over 80% of Democrats want, by the way, and most Americans want too across the political spectrum. But I digressed a little bit. What he did to those veterans, the laughter and all of that, I mean, he should be ashamed of himself, but he's not. And then lastly, on this point, I guess he must have forgot about the First Amendment, the very First Amendment that those veterans stood up for in this country. He just threw that out the window. So it is entitlement. And Mayor, what really galls me, I won't say the most, but this galls me as well. Senator Fetterman is somebody that the Republicans came after hard for some of his, personal challenges that any human being could have, from depression or stroke, things that just happen to you because you're human. And there are people like me and others who defended him, rightfully so, and people in that condition, no matter what job that they have, life happens to us all. And to see this man stand up here with the pure unadulterated gall to deny veterans, to laugh at veterans, and some of the other behaviors that he has exhibited in this moment against his own constituents and other Americans whom he might disagree with on this issue really shows who he truly, truly is.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They say it's these times when you find out who your friends or allies are. And right now you can't pretend, Senator Fetterman, that you didn't know those were veterans, because the shirt says veterans demanding ceasefire. Veterans demanding ceasefire. So the group that was protesting, the group of veterans were arrested for protesting in Senator Gillibrand's office in the Capitol. Members of the About Face veteran group came to the office to demand to call for the siege. That's what it is too, on Gaza, and for a ceasefire right now. She refused to meet with us. This is according to the group on X, the platform that used to be known as Twitter. Capitol Police were called. We aren't going anywhere until she meets with us. The group which represents veterans who are against war, later posted a video of the protesters being arrested outside the Russell office building. Gillibrand is a senior member of the Armed Force Committee. This is unbelievable. I think, listen, first of all, I am done with the Senate. Let's just say that it is anti-democratic, right? The power that the very few Americans have over, I'm talking about representation right now, sis. That in itself is disgusting, right? California has more population than some spaces that represent 20-some senators, right? And is absolutely disgusting, and it is absolutely anti-democratic. But to see them behave in this manner, she's not even willing to meet with veterans on the issue of war where life will be lost. And right now we know it's over 10,000, mostly children in Palestine that are dying because of Democrats taking the side with Republicans, refusing to stand up and have a backbone. And when the rest of the world, not just Americans, the rest of the world is saying what's happening in Gaza is absolutely out of line and inhumane. I'm disgusted by Fetterman's behavior and all of these Democrats. I'm even disgusted that Joe Biden has taken this stance where he want to cozy up and run to Israel and hug Netanyahu, who is, we know, racist because of his behavior towards Barack Obama when he was in the office. So I'm absolutely disgusted by all of this, and the Democratic establishment right now need to stand up.
And he was the vice president under that black president that he likes to cuddle up to get black votes. And he knows how Netanyahu treated President Barack Obama. But that in and of itself is not the only rationale. Senator Bernie Sanders was interviewed on CNN just this past Sunday, and he called the Netanyahu government what it was. He said it's a racist, extremist government. And that's Senator Bernard Sanders, who is Jewish, whose father's side of the family, perished in the Holocaust. He has both lived experience and the experiences of his community, and he's laying it out. He lived in Israel for a while, and he's laying it out with what it is. And we know that even before the Middle East, this war broke out, there were many Israelis that took to the streets to protest against this extremist right-wing government. And it shouldn't take a whole lot of heart to understand that when you have the level of death that is happening in the Gaza, the level of death to children, to women, and to men. And Mayor, I know we put that extra because it's children, because we're hoping that people's hearts would be softer when we talk about children. But obviously it doesn't matter because it's Palestinian children who are dying, mothers who have to give birth, trying to birth babies into the world at this particular time, fathers, cousins, everybody losing their lives. And we have a president that refuses to call for a ceasefire, even though we give Israel a whole lot of money. They want to pretend like they don't have any control. This country does have control. The blood is on the hands of President Joe Biden, lording over genocide at this very moment. Human rights organizations are coming out against it. People are marching in the streets from all walks of life. And I want to put in a special shout out to the Jewish Voices of Peace and others in our Arab American community, whether they Muslim or Christian, locking arm in arm to stand up and say, not in our name. And you have a lot of Jewish Americans and even Israelis saying, we don't want this. This is not what we want.
Absolutely. And I think that's a perfect point for us to take a break, because there's nothing else to be said about that. You clean that clock.